Well, hello again from the Granite State. My name is Gary, and this is the Restoring Main Street podcast. As always, thank you for joining me. I want to discuss a couple of topics tonight, basically share a couple of observations on two things that I see some similarities and stuff that we can compare. I think they have parallels that would make sense to a lot of people. So I wanted to take a couple minutes and share that with you tonight. So we'll get to that in a second. I want to take 2 seconds just right off the bat and mention my book, The North Country Chronicles, on sale at Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. If you would consider checking that out, like I said, a book of poetry that I think you would find inspiring, and it gives you a little bit of an out compared to what you're dealing with every day today, and I would certainly appreciate the support. So with that, the topic tonight I think falls under what I like to call Restoring Main Street Quick Hit. And there we go. So what I'm looking to discuss tonight are the two parallel topics have to do with people and people's perceptions. And these are pretty stark, topics or issues. And the first one I'm going to speak to, I have some, personal stories that I'm kind of condensing into a general topic. But the two things that I wanted to talk about as far as people and people's perceptions, the first one is God and religion. Now, it's been my experience, and I've had this conversation with a few different people over the years. And when I say a few different people concerning this, it's more people that would speak up in opposition or have opinions contrary to someone having faith or a reason to not have faith. And I can speak to this in that I understand people's perception of what a Christian is supposed to be, or how what they feel a Christian is supposed to be, and how they're supposed to act. So when they observe somebody that they know to be a person of faith, and they're doing something that easily is considered against that faith, people's perceptions are shaped. And I think the minor stuff, the minor things, the little things that most folks might just miss in that they're everyday mistakes and flaws. The funny thing, I don't know if that's the right word, the funny thing, the human thing behind faith and people's perception of those who choose to follow Christ is that upon that proclamation, somehow things change automatically. Some things do. Some things from a faith perspective, as I fumble over my words, from a faith perspective, do change instantly. And then there are other things that are deep-seated flaws that, like anyone, whether it be in a faith-based life or not, if you're looking to improve yourself, they're things that you work on. When you accept Christ, it's an ongoing struggle with the things that you used to do. And some of them you're able to change right away, others of them you're not. But the real issue, I guess, that I have is people's rush to condemn faith or God based on people's actions or perceptions. And the funny thing is that it all relates to being human, to people. So when you go ahead and you condemn faith, condemn God, based on what you see someone you know to be a Christian, that's not God's fault. That's not the Bible's fault. We're all still human. We're all still flawed. And to make a decision to not follow Christ or not become a Christian based on what you see another person do, in my opinion, I don't see that as a solid argument. I'm not going to base how I live my life or the choices that I've made as far as my faith on what somebody next to me decides to do or not do. I am going to do my best to follow what is outlined in the Bible and try to improve, monitor myself and improve every single day. So the condemning of faith or Christianity, like I said, based on what you see other people do, it's not a fair comparison. We're all still sinners. It's just Christians have made the choice to seek salvation and try to live by those laws that are in the Bible. And we're still going to make mistakes. Now, the parallel that I'm going to share that I see in this and this second subject has the same basic flaws, in that I'm talking about the founding of this country, our founding documents, and people's perceptions. Now, when this country was founded, it didn't happen overnight. Obviously, there was a revolution that started first with the idea of wanting to be a free nation and self-governing. And it took quite a while, even after the colonists won the revolution, to put together a constitution, a Bill of Rights, beyond the mission statement of the Declaration of Independence. But again, like the Bible, all of these things, like I said, were a mission statement and then guidelines on how you are going to attempt to run your society, or in the case of the Bible, how you're going to attempt to live your life. My issue with people that try to condemn this country based on its mistakes, on its actions in the past, I don't think, in my opinion, that's a fair analysis. If I was to judge you based on all of your failures, would that be a fair way to judge you? No. You are based on the entirety of who you are. This country, to date, is based on the entirety of what it is and the goals it's tried to aspire to. So the sad thing when it comes to this country is that this newfound desire to point out all of America's flaws, if it was used as a tool to understand and try to be better, I'd have absolutely no problem with it whatsoever. But from what I see, it's used as a club to bludgeon this country and what this country stands for. Both faith and the documents that set up this country, a set of guidelines. When those documents were founded and crafted, and it took several years. Like I said, these things didn't happen overnight. It's still, upon signing them and ratifying the Constitution, those actions did not concentrate. What do I want to say? I'm screwing up the word here. Constitute did not constitute the flipping of a wall switch, like throwing on a light, and voila, everything is so. Everything on that page comes to fruition right at that exact moment. That's not the case. Like faith, the struggles of this country were ongoing ones. But the guidelines that we set were an ideal and a thing to strive for. So in both cases, for people to judge a Christian, or better, the Christian faith, based on the actions of a few that claim to be a Christian, or the actions of a country based on an individual who has risen to power, or an administration's actions, that's not a fair assessment. In order to be fair, you really have to judge things in their entirety, the sum of all that they are. The sum of what faith in God stands for, like I said, are just principles to attempt to live your life by. And each day we try to do that, and like I said, I'm just as flawed as anyone else and make mistakes and have to get down on my knees and ask for forgiveness and get up the next day and try not to make the same mistake. The same thing is true of this country. We have guidelines to live by. And the times that we've gone in a bad direction, made bad decisions, it's because we've stepped out of those guidelines and because we're still human. We're still run by people, and people can make mistakes. But an ideal and a principle is designed to be the purest of intents. And that's what we're supposed to strive for every day. So, like I said, when you're comparing faith against people's actions, and you're comparing this country against its actions, the fairest way to do that is to look at the sum of all of it. And I hope that makes sense to you. Now, a majority of what's happening today, and it seems to be more intense when you're talking about this nation, and well, there's an attack on faith right now as well. So why would you attack those ideals? Excuse me. When it's obviously people that make those mistakes, not the ideals. Well, if you were looking to destroy a society, a country, the first things that you would attack are the pillars and things, the guidelines, the higher aspirations. This cause this to be a better place, or someone to be a better person. So by attacking those things, by trying to tear them down, by bashing them at every chance that you get, from every angle, the intent is to destroy something that is essentially good. And why would you do that? Well, the only reason that you would try and destroy something that made sense, something that had principles, something that people could aspire to, is if you want to build it back up closer to your heart's desire. And these are the things that I believe outside, well, I was going to say outside forces. It's not outside forces. This country is stumbling right now because of the inside efforts more than the outside forces to basically tear it down. And people in Cuba right now are crying for freedom in the streets. They're waving an American flag. Same thing happened in Hong Kong. Any place that you see that's trying to strive for what they see as a better life is looking to this country and the principles that it stands for. If you destroy those things, where do people go? If you destroy God and faith, if you tear those things apart, what hope do people have? And in both cases, those things don't end well. They don't end well. And if we lose faith, if we lose the ideals and the principles of this country, I believe, my opinion, that the world is lost. That we, as the human race, start sliding back into an abyss that is deep, dark, and full of evil. So those are the two things I wanted to bring up today. Those are the two things that I wanted to discuss and felt they had parallels because they both involve people's perception of other people's actions and then condemning two things of principle based on what other people do with them. It doesn't matter what they do. It matters what you do. So that's just something that I want you to consider, and something that I believe has some serious merit and consequences if we don't consider what it is we're doing. Okay, that's all I have. I hope this was of benefit to you. I want to try and remind you of a few things before I let you go, and that is that you can find Restoring Main Street on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble. I'm also, Gab TV. I have page presence on MeWe and Gab. I also have signed on to Anchor FM. And what Anchor FM is basically the audio versions of all of this. And they are posting my podcast to Spotify, to Anchor FM, to Google Play, to Breaker, to Pocket Cast, and there's a couple of others. I will post some of those website links so that you can follow those along with the, below, as people say in YouTube, in the below comments, I will post some of this information so that you can follow those things. And we appreciate all the support that you could provide us. Like I said, like, share, follow, comment, all of those things that help just gain us a little bit more visibility here at Restoring Main Street. And like I said, I'm just an average person trying to share my thoughts and feelings and ideals because I seriously care about what's going on around us. And like I said, I have a much larger vision of what Restoring Main Street actually means. And the bigger vision behind that is trying to conserve the freedom and ability for each of us to be who we are, do what we want to do, for entrepreneurs to start their businesses, and for people to thrive. And to not be canceled, not be shut down, not be infringed upon in any way. We've already got enough laws to cover all of those things if we would just follow them, if we would just go back to following the Constitution as far as our government and how things are outlined and what the federal end of things is supposed to do and what is supposed to be left to the states. So, again, like I said, all of those different places you'll find Restoring Main Street. We have a restoringmainstreet.com. I also have a Restoring Main Street podcast, Twitter and Instagram account. So if you would follow those things and show us some support, I would truly, truly appreciate it. And again, don't forget the book. If you would consider just supporting me in that way, I would really appreciate it. And like I said, it'll take you to some different places, and maybe you can stop focusing on some of the chaos that's going on around you and find yourself immersed in something a little bit different. So, again, as I always leave you, I'll leave you with God, freedom, and country, because if we lose the first two, God, freedom, and country. I'm so focused on country. God, freedom, and family. Because if we lose the first two, our families are truly doomed. So until next time, thank you, and God bless.